Welcome back, friends, to the Dave Crenshaw Success Project. This is the show where I'm teaching my children how to be successful, and typically it's through the life stories of others. Every episode is real, fresh, and 100% AI-free. And this is a special episode where I bring in my kids and we talk about either a principle of success that I've just learned, or it's in my books, or it's something that came up in the conversations that I had. So everybody say hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Ella, introduce yourself and tell us how you're feeling today.
My name is Ella. I am in 8th grade, and I am mostly awake.
Mostly awake. All right. Well, good. It's after 11 a.m., so I'm hoping you're mostly awake. Good. Stratton.
I'm Stratton. I'm not really awake. Not very awake.
What are you, a 17-year-old?
Yep.
Well, I'm saying that, that's pretty typical for a 17-year-old to be a little tired in the morning.
Yeah.
And Darcy, say hello to everyone.
Hi, I am Darcy. I am 10 years old, and I am things today.
You are things today. Good. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is kind of a follow-up of our last special episode where we talked about systems. Remember, having processes, procedures to help you get what it is that you want. And that comes from lots of decades of coaching businesses and executives, but also is in my book, The Result. And in The Result, I talk about how there are 3 elements to getting what you want. So systems is the first one. The second is accountability. And the third is motivation. And so today, I want to talk about accountability. And Darcy and I had a little bit of conversation beforehand, and she was saying, I don't know what that is, right?
I did not know.
Yes. And I said, well, most adults either don't know what it is or they don't understand it fully. So let me explain how I define accountability. And the first thing I should say is sometimes other people use the words differently. I'm going to share with you how I use it with my clients. So to me, accountability is having a third party, someone outside of you who is following up with you, who is providing training, and they provide a trusted resource for you to turn to learn and grow. So let's think about that for a second. Right now in your lives, Ella, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who provides accountability to you? Who is a third party that you trust and is following up with you and helping you learn and grow?
Teachers.
Great. Perfect. Great example. Do you have a teacher that you particularly like, who you feel really helps you grow?
My English teacher.
Awesome. That's perfect too, because I know how interested you are in writing. What's one thing that English teacher has done that you feel has helped you grow? Like this can be a story or it can be something that just happens on a regular basis.
To start, she's just like a really nice and understanding teacher. She's teacher of the year for our district, actually.
Wow.
And she's super helpful. And in the beginning of the year, she likes to get to know each student individually. Like she has this little survey about like what we like and all this other stuff. So she knows each of us a little more than some of my other teachers do. And so it helps us trust her more and want to listen to her more.
That's fantastic, and that's a great example of it. And I want to talk about a few different types of accountability. It's critical to have that, and we can get it a few ways. So in your case, we'll call it formal accountability. So this is a leader. This can be your teacher. If you're in the workplace, it can be your manager. It can be your boss. This is someone who has a formal responsibility on if we had an organization chart, we see them and you're underneath them, right? And they're providing that help for you. So that's the perfect example of that. There are also, and Stratton, I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. There's also another type of accountability, which is where we are hiring someone and their job is to provide, their sole job is to be a coach and to provide accountability to people. That's how I built my career in the beginning. So Stratton, I know that you have a coach. Who's a coach in your life?
I was going to bring that up if you didn't ask, but
yeah,
my personal trainer. Yeah.
I just want to say you're pretty lucky to be able to have that.
Yeah.
Right? That's not something that everyone's going to have at your age, but we felt like it was helpful for you. Mm-hmm. So what does he do? How does he coach you and hold you accountable for your physical fitness goals?
One thing that he does that holds me accountable is actually being there. if he's there, I kind of have to show up, right? If he's there and I don't show up, he's going to be like, dude, what are you doing? You got to go unless you're sick,
right?
Or something comes up. So him actually being there and keeping me in check if I don't show up, he just does a lot of things for me.
Yeah, so here's a great example of what accountability provides. Part of accountability is training, right? And when I talk about training, I mean someone who is teaching you how to perform the tasks at the best level. And in some ways, this is where it ties into systems. They know the best systems to follow, and they're teaching you those systems and then holding you accountable to make sure that you do it. So in your example, with having that trainer at the gym, there are lots of systems all around you when you go to a gym, right? Now, I want all three of you to imagine that. When you walk into a gym, what are all the systems that you see? The physical systems.
Weight machines, stuff like that.
Exactly. You've got all these different things. And most people, what do? They go into the gym and they don't have any training. They don't have any background in it. I know, because I've been in that spot. And so they start using the machine just like, oh, I guess I'm going to start using this. And what happens? Either they don't get optimal results or they might hurt themselves or damage the machine. So your coach, in this case, knows these things, knows what you're supposed to do, and he is training you on how to use them. That is also an important part of accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of keeping you motivated, you mentioned that he just shows up, but is there anything that he does while you're there that keeps you going, keeps pushing you to be a little bit better?
I don't know. He's just a really nice guy. He's a really friendly guy. Yeah, he likes to keep conversation, that kind of thing. Just kind of distracts you from the not fun part of working out, the actual painful part of working out. So that, and offering little bits of motivation throughout it.
Yeah. And my hope is that he works with you a little bit differently than he works with other people. A great coach, someone who's really good, or a great teacher, understands that every person needs to be led in a slightly different way. When I have coached entrepreneurs and business executives, I do not work with them all the same way. I go, oh, this one needs me to tease them a little bit. This one needs me to kind of joke around. But this other one wants me to get right to the point and get down to here are step A, B, C. And there's an awareness that's required on my part to understand how to do that differently.
Okay.
Okay, so Darcy, we have a formal accountability. That's like a teacher, a leader, a manager. We've got coach. That's someone that you hire. And the third one is a mentor. Have you ever heard of that word before?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you believe mentor means? If I have a mentor, what do they do?
Like, they're basically teaching you, and they're, like, looking after you, and they're kind of, like, helping you get used to things.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Now, a mentor isn't someone who has formal accountability, right? And they're not someone that you hire, but they're someone who's agreed to help you out and to teach you things. So they may be really good at something and they're just volunteering their time or just willing to sit down and share their wisdom with you. And you can have mentors in any part of your life. Have any of you ever had a mentor in an area?
You.
Okay. How have I been a mentor for you?
You kind of just, like, tell us stuff and teach us things from time to time.
No matter what your career is, your foundation of success begins with one thing: effective time management. And thanks to the generosity of Microsoft, you can get my entire course, Time Management Fundamentals, for free on LinkedIn Learning. Go to davegift.com to get your free access now. This is the course that millions around the world have used to become more productive and reduce stress. Everyone from Fortune 500 executives to freelancers to students. Now, it's the same coaching I've provided in person for tens of thousands of dollars per day, but you can get it for free on LinkedIn Learning. You don't need to provide anything to access it. No credit card, no email. Just go to davegift.com and start learning. Thank you so much, Microsoft and LinkedIn Learning, for your partnership. davegift.com.
Yeah, I do try to do that. So from my perspective, I would say that that's formal accountability, right? I am your father. I am your father, right? And my job as a father, that is my responsibility, is to help you learn and grow and teach you and hold you accountable. That's a structural, formal responsibility. I know that makes it sound really cold, but you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's the role I agreed to play when your mom and I decided, hey, let's have children. A mentor can be someone that is really good at something, and you look at them and you say, man, they're so good at that. I want to learn how to do it. And you go to that person and you say, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Can you follow up with me and see how I'm doing? So as I'm saying that, I'm asking all three of you, is there anyone in any part of your life where you have had them be a mentor? And keep in mind that a mentor doesn't necessarily need to be older than you. They can be someone who's your same age, but someone who's doing something that's really awesome, and you want them to give you guidance. So as I say that, does anything come to mind?
I have an example.
Okay.
So I have probably two of my best friends. I have Claire and I have Claire. And so two Claires. And so one of them, she's really nice. She's smart and she's really good at math. And so she helps me with math and it really helped me in school. And then when I was younger and I did dance and everything, Claire K, who I knew for longer, she is really into dance. And so she helped me with a lot of my flexibility.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, those are great examples, Darcy. They're people who are doing something or have accomplished something that you want to accomplish. They're doing it well, and you're asking them for help, and they're giving you help with it. That's perfect. Okay, so let's pause for a second and just talk about the confusion that people have with accountability. They say things like, I'm going to be accountable, or I'm going to make myself accountable. And what they're saying is, I'm going to be responsible. They're just using a different word for responsibility. If you're going to be a responsible person, and you're going to hold yourself responsible, then what does that mean?
You're going to do what you said you were going to do?
Yeah, you're going to follow through. You're going to be a person of your word. And that is important. When I'm talking about accountability, someone else needs to be involved. So you say, I'm going to make myself accountable to someone else. I'm going to have them help me grow. So what is the value? Why is accountability so important, do you think? Why would I say that that's one of the three things that's required to get a result that you want?
It makes it harder to back out.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
Like, for example, I have a friend who helps me with some of my writing. And when I feel unmotivated or don't want to do something, the thought of her wanting to read it kind of makes me go, oh, I actually should probably do this then.
Yeah. And do you give her a deadline when you say that you're going to do it?
I've given myself deadlines.
So when I was writing, it was, in fact, the Maker War, which if you're listening to this, you're like, what's that? I wrote it under the pen name DMC Shaw, and it's a sci-fi book that I wrote that I had always wanted to write. One of the things that I did was I made an announcement publicly and said, I am going to complete the first draft by December of this year. And on top of that, I told my coach, who's David Winford, said the same thing. I'm going to do that by then. So the knowledge that other people were expecting that of me, that accountability, helped me follow through, just like you're saying. So the reason why accountability is so essential to your success, we've already talked about the follow-up, but it's also the training aspect of it. It's having someone who can see the path ahead of you and they can guide you. One of the things that David Winford and I would say when we were talking to new potential coaching clients is there are two universal truths. It's difficult to self-correct and it's lonely at the top. And what that means is if you don't have someone else guiding you, if you don't have someone else correcting you, you're not going to see the things that you need to correct. For example, let's go back to your example, Stratton in the gym. you're lifting the equipment, right? You're doing whatever it is with the machines or the free weights.
Yeah.
But can you see everything about your form? Even if you're looking in a mirror, are you fully aware of what you're doing?
No.
Right. So what does he do?
He's like, hey, you should do this, like raise your arm a bit, or
Yeah.
yeah.
You're tensing your shoulders up too much.
Mm-hmm.
Your hands could go a little bit higher. All those little kind of micro corrections, these are the things that an effective mentor can do. So let's take it in the writing context, right? If you have a writing mentor, that person's looking at it and saying, I'm not talking about proofreading. Okay, proofreading is not accountability. That's just making sure it's clean. I'm talking about having like a content editor that's looking at what you're doing and saying, what if you tried this instead? And you're repeating yourself with these words, but it would be stronger if you said it less, right? And you have someone who's providing that kind of accountability, you're going to grow a lot faster. Make sense?
Yeah, my friend kind of does that a little bit too. Like I have friends who go through and they're like, this doesn't feel right. Maybe if you did this instead, it could be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you bring up a good point, and Darcy kind of talked about this too, but let's recap. So far, we've talked about formal accountability. That's a leader who has a responsibility, like your parent, like a manager, like a boss. The second is a coach, and the coach is someone that you hire or pay to provide that kind of training. The third is the mentor, and that's someone who you're not paying. They don't have any formal responsibility, but they are agreeing to help you out with it. There's a fourth one, or there's a 3B, which is the frientor. Okay. And I have a few frientors in my life. A good example is someone that you've known, met a few times, Jason Hewlett, right?
Yeah.
And there's no formal responsibility, but sometimes we'll sit together and get together for lunch and just talk about how things are going in our businesses and our speaking careers, and we're giving each other ideas for it.
Yeah.
So what questions do you have for me about accountability?
Does self-accountability work? And if it does, how do you get it to work?
Well, I think this goes back to the discussion that we had about follow-through. That's really what we're talking about with follow-through, is are you a person who does what you said you would do by the time you said you would do it? And that's all about time management. That's all about productivity. That's creating your personal systems and structure to be successful. But I do not personally like the phrase self-accountability. I like responsibility.
Okay.
Right? Because what it does is it helps us get very clear about the difference between the two things so we don't confuse them. Responsibility, that's you by yourself. Accountability, that's you and a third party. That's someone else that's checking. Now, here's an interesting question. Can accountability improve your responsibility?
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in the case of time management, people wanted to get better with their follow-through and with their productivity, so they would hire me to provide accountability so that they can get better and be more responsible and complete things on time.
Got you. Okay.
What other questions do you have about accountability?
I've been wondering this, but when is the best time to probably use accountability?
That's a great question, Darcy, and I would say any time that you want to accomplish something you've never accomplished before. So if you think about, that's what the book The Result is about, is saying, what's the result that you want? What's the thing that you want that you have not been able to achieve so far? So let me turn it back on the three of you. What is something from each of you that you want to accomplish? What's a result you want to get that you haven't gotten so far in your life?
I'm writing my book right now, right?
Okay.
And I want the result for me, like having it be published and having the people who I said that they would probably be able to get a copy when it's done, like published or anything like that. I want that to be the result of me getting it done.
Okay. So who could provide accountability to help you with that?
You.
Okay. Yeah. Because I can act both as a leader and a mentor, right? Because I've done that before. So how can we structure that? How would we make that work so that I'm providing accountability to you? This is a trick question. I want you guys to think about it for a second. How can we set up accountability and make it more consistent?
You set a goal.
Okay. So we can sit down and we can say, here's the goal. Part of that goal is we want to say when.
I want to finish it by the end of summer.
Okay. So now we have a time. Now we want to create a structure for accountability. How often are we going to meet? That's also part of the accountability, right? How often are we going to have one-on-one conversations to come back at this and make sure that we're moving in the right direction? So maybe you and I, Darcy, can set up a time where, once a week, on one day of the week at a certain time, and I'm not saying this is the one, but I'm just giving an example. Every Tuesday at 7:30, we just sit down and we take a look at your progress with it and what needs to be done next. Okay. When I would do coaching, we'd have every second and fourth Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of each month at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever. And so I could count on it, and the person that I'm coaching can count on it. So that'll help you move closer to do that. So let's figure out how to do that later. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Ella or Stratton, you want to go next? What's a result that you're trying to achieve that you have not achieved before?
Yeah, most of the same thing.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so everybody here wants to write a book because for some reason I've bred writers in our home.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do the same thing, right? We can set up a schedule. We can set up some formal accountability. Now, at some point, we could also look at getting a coach of some kind, getting a writing coach, or getting someone who's professionally an expert in it. Now, why would I do that? Why, as someone who has published books, I'm your dad, I love you, I know you, you can trust me, you know that I know the path. Why would I still say there might be value in hiring a professional to do it?
One person can only know so much, and that person might have their own way of doing it, but that might not work for everybody.
Yeah, that is definitely very valid. What's another reason?
I mean, I know that you write a lot of informational books, and so maybe somebody with more of a fantasy kind of personality or something else other than informational could help.
Yeah, that also is another reason. Let's just talk about it in a big picture sense, though, not just writing. What's the value of having a professional, perhaps in addition to or instead of someone who's formal accountability, like a leader or a boss?
They've dedicated their craft to it. They've dedicated their lives to it, so they probably know the most.
Yep, you hit right on it. And this is why I think a lot of people misunderstand accountability. They're looking for what is the cheapest route, when what they should look at is what is the best that they can afford. Because when you're spending that kind of money to create that kind of accountability in your life, you're going to take it more seriously. You're going to be more invested in it. And you're working with someone whose entire job is to help you succeed. Even as a father, and I'm trying to help you, each of you, write a book. Mm-hmm. Helping my kids publish a book is not what I do all day, every day.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So I will do my best, of course, because I love you and because I want to see you succeed. But there's a big difference between that and having someone who only thinks about helping other people succeed and publish books. As a business coach, my sole job was to think about other entrepreneurs and the people that I'm coaching and thinking, how can I help them in the next meeting? What do I need to learn to help them grow? And that provides a different level of support than a leader or even a mentor can provide. So I believe that as you go through life and you start to progress, you want to ask yourself, can I afford a coach? Can I afford someone who is a professional to help me get this? And I have coaches in multiple areas of my life. I've got my business coach. I've got my psychological coach, right? Often called a therapist, right?
Yeah.
I've got a dietitian that I meet with from time to time. And I've got a driving coach, right? For performance driving.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Because I believe in the value of having that. One last question, then we'll wrap up. How can you be a good student and how can you be coachable?
Being open to feedback. Like being willing to take in feedback and actually do something with it. Allowing yourself to try things out.
Yeah. All of those are really important.
You can pay attention and listen and try to focus instead of, goofing off and fidgeting.
Okay. Yeah. Or just not taking it in. I've been shocked sometimes at And it's natural. We need to talk through things sometimes. But I've also had the experience where someone will have hired me as a coach and they're more interested in hearing themselves talk rather than having a discussion and listening and asking questions. Having a sounding board to listen to is important, but you've also got to pay attention. What else, Ella? What else can make you coachable?
Something that's kind of like standing out is like the step to get a coach is also kind of like being open to suggestion, realizing that you need a coach.
Yeah. Or accountability of other kinds. And you all have not really experienced this yet because you haven't entered in the workforce. But if and when, because maybe you'll be your own boss, but if and when you work in a company and you have a formal boss, a lot of people are afraid to ask for help. They're afraid to draw attention to themselves or make themselves look weak. When in fact, I find the opposite is true, that if you go to your leader and say, hey, this is something I'm working on, can you help me with it? And if you ask someone to help you, almost always they're going to be very generous and say, yeah, I'd love to help you. So you can get more accountability without spending money through the formal accountability opportunities that you have. Like if you came to me, how often do each of you come to me and say, Dad, I'm trying to do this. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens, but does it happen very often? No, not like that.
No.
No. And it comes up in the seams, but if there's something that really matters to you, you can come to me and create something that's more specific if you want to.
Cool.
All right, so we always want to end this with action because it's not so much about the knowledge that you gain, but what you do with that knowledge. And I'm speaking now to everyone who's listening to this. So what is one thing that, as you're thinking about the discussion that we've had, what's one action that you can take in the next week to make accountability a little bit more a part of your life?
I'll go first. So working out, I'm doing my best to always have a workout partner there, whether it's my personal trainer, whether it's a friend, whether it's my girlfriend, someone there. That's usually a very good way to keep me accountable and actually work out. So if shifting from twice a week with a personal trainer to one time a week or once every 2 weeks, I need to make sure that I have someone else on those days to keep myself working out.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. A friend tour.
Yeah. Friend tour. Yeah, exactly.
Someone who's working to do the same thing. Okay. I love that. That's great. Ella, what do you think?
I'd say probably setting up a system with my friends with writing, of me writing a chapter and then us talking about it and evaluating it or something, which I haven't really been doing. Yeah. It's kind of been like, I write it, I guess, occasionally.
So maybe a schedule for that? Yeah, I think that would be great. Darcy?
I could probably make days when I'm going to read my book to my class, because I'm doing that right now, but I still need to work on it and I need days in between to write my book so that way I have a chapter for the next day.
Okay. So maybe you could talk to your teacher and figure out a day that's consistent for you to do that. Yeah. You have a great teacher who's allowing you to read that story to the class. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. And I would say a step for me, and I'm going to put it on you to ask me, but if you have that goal of getting published, let's have a conversation and let's set a date by when you're going to have a certain milestone. Now, I'm going to be really clear about this because sometimes people who feel that they have accountability to provide will come in and say, this is what we're going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to follow up with you and they're going to make you do it. What I believe is you have to give permission for accountability. You remember a time a while ago, Stratton, when you were working on a personal goal and you said, we were talking about, how to help you do it. And you came and said, will you help me with it? And I said, now, if you're going to have me help you with it, how far can I go? Right? Are you going to give me permission to talk to you the same way that I would talk to a client? Does that ring a bell at all?
Gaining weight.
Yeah,
right,
gaining your weight and with your diet. Yeah. Right? And it was really difficult. And You're like, I said, I can help you with it, but do you really want me to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
Are you giving me permission to do this? Mm-hmm. That's so critical. So if you guys want that help and you want to achieve that, ask me for help.
Okay.
And then we will set something up. But then that way you have given me permission and you're going to be more invested in it, just like if you were paying money to have someone help you.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for this discussion. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you for listening to the show. As always, make sure you go and do something about what you heard today, and you can make accountability a part of your life forever. Go have a great day.
You've been listening to the Dave Crenshaw Success Project, hosted by my dad, Dave Crenshaw, and produced by Invaluable Incorporated. Sound editing was done by my brother, Stratton Crenshaw. Research and assistant production by Victoria Budez. Voiceover by me, Darcy Crenshaw. And the music is by Ryan Brady via Pond 5 licensing. Please subscribe to the Dave Crenshaw Success Project on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to get your podcasts. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review.